I'd like to call to order the Frankfort Plant Board meeting on Friday, December 16th, 2022 at 1 p.m. in the community room. Madam Secretary, would you call the roll?
Member DeLong?
Here.
Member Cuban?
Here.
Member Mason?
Here.
Member Snyder?
Here.
Member Devin Mitchell?
Here.
We have a quorum. We can do business. First item is we're going to have a discussion. We don't have to take any action on, I know everybody's seen a lot of,
Over the minutes first.
well, she's got it. Well, no, she's got the minutes right over there. I'm sorry. Yeah, we have the minutes of, I'm all excited about Christmas. You know.
I understand.
The minutes of November 15th, 2022. Everybody should have them in front of them. Does anybody have any changes, corrections, additions? If not, all those in favor of adopting the minutes? First, do we have a
I'll
motion?
make a motion.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes adopted. Now, the exciting sales tax. Probably everybody's seen a lot. Some of the TV stations have talked about it, and just was Cassie, you gonna do it, or David? Tag team, and just explain, make sure the customers understand that it's not ominous and it's very simple. And you all want to take it away?
Do you think what you said sums it up? It's not ominous, it's not as terrible as people think. The majority of our customers will not be impacted in any way, and they
Probably won't even be contacted by the Frankfort Plant Board. So with this change, the primary difference is if you're a residential customer with a residential service rate and you have 2 or more locations, we're going to be reaching out to you. That could be completely different addresses, or that could be if you have your home in a barn or your home in a garage. As long as that's for your own personal residential use, we're going to be reaching out to you. So we have approximately 730 customers that fall into that category. A little more than half are on our portal, so we're going to use that as our first attempt to reach out to them. Everyone else we're going to be either mailing or contacting via phone. Everyone's going to have to fill out a form in that category. That form is currently on our website already. There's a link on our main page that you can click on and go to. Plus, as I said, we're going to utilize the portal to push that out to you so you can fill it out and get it back. We do have people who've sent them to us already. If you want to fill out a form, or you have, or you're concerned, feel free to send it to us. We would be prepared if the state ever changed anything in the future. And we'll certainly attach that to your account. However, you won't see any changes unless you're in this small category and we're notifying you directly.
2 items I think that's come up, Cassie, at least I've heard. And you're aware of the ones I've heard because
Yeah.
I've thrown them over to you. First is, now when you say a home and a garage, that's only if you have a separate meter on your garage, right?
That's correct. So if you have 2 separate meters and it's for your own personal use.
But otherwise, if you just have a garage and you got electricity in it, that's not going to get you a phone call necessarily.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
And then you want to talk a little about landlords, both tenants, renters, and the landlord themselves, and how that works.
Most landlords will not be impacted by this because they have a general service with FPB. An example would be a master meter for an apartment. While that's a residential location, that master meter does multiple things in that unit. It's in the landlord's name. So that's a general service as opposed to a residential service. So therefore, you don't need to fill out a form and you don't need to declare anything because you're not receiving a residential rate currently with FPB anyway.
Okay. So basically, if you don't hear from us, you don't need to be calling you.
Well, that's a nice way of saying
Well, I mean,
that.
but
Yes, sir. You don't have to take action unless the Frankfort Plant Board contacts you. And we will utilize the portal to do that. So if you haven't signed up, please feel free to. But we will also attempt to mail. The other important thing that people don't need to be concerned about if you're an existing customer is you're grandfathered in. So on January 1, you're not immediately going to get taxed if you haven't heard from us or you haven't returned your form. The state has not provided a specific deadline for us to begin. However, we're going to have our own internal deadline and make a couple different efforts to get to those people before we start to charge anybody. One thing to note that the state is requiring is as of January 1, every new residential service customer will have to declare the form. So we're going to make that part of our sign-up process. If you sign up online, you'll be able to do your form at that time. If you come into the office, we'll collect it from you at that time.
And Frankfort Sewer's separate from us. Were they going to follow our lead? They're not doing anything independent, right?
That's correct. They won't do anything independently because their sewer is billed with our water. If we're sending you a form, it's going to blanket anything associated with the sewer.
Okay, any questions for John?
Cassie, you talk about people signing up for new service. If someone comes in and signs up for a change, they want to add something, if they're going to add, telecom or something to an existing, will we get that form done at the same time, or what are the plans on that?
Our plans right now are to get the new customers and anyone who moves. But we are going to collect it for telecom-only services and moves, although it doesn't specifically apply to those right now. In case there's any changes in the future, we would have them for those people.
Steve?
Just to be clear, if you have a barn or a separate garage with a separate meter, is that subject to the sales tax? Is that what you're saying?
You can claim an exemption on one of them. So if you have a garage in your driveway and it has its own separate meter and you use it for your own personal use, you can declare an exemption for that one. If you have another shed out in your backyard that you piddle in, or you have a barn somewhere that you're utilizing, you might be using that for personal use as well, but you can only declare one of those along with your house for your exemption.
The other question, as it relates to the tax, the burden for this tax, is it on the taxpayer or is it on the utility?
We're going to collect it and pass, as I understand, we're going to add it to the bill. If it applies to you, we'll add it, collect it, and remit that to the Department of Revenue. We're just collecting on behalf of the Department of Revenue, right?
Correct.
Well, the question though for me is our discussion makes it appear that the burden is on us to tell you that you need to pay this, or you will be subject to it. And I thought the language said the burden is X. In other words, I'm trying to get away from any deceptive measures by the taxpayer who can claim that we didn't contact them, that they should be, pay it. So the burden is on the taxpayer. We're providing a service to try to tell them that you may be subject to this tax.
That is correct, and we will begin to charge you should you not declare your form. And at that point, it would be on you as the taxpayer to notify us if that's inaccurate and provide the correct form.
But if the burden is, again, going back, the burden is on them and they're deceptive to us, to the plant board, the burden is still on them. I'm just trying to clarify that this burden is the taxpayer's burden, that we're facilitating, helping them to understand that they are subject to the tax.
I would say yes, that's correct.
So, any other questions for Cassie? And I'll stop trying to refer customers to you this week, so.
That's okay.
Thank you. Next item is financials. Mr. Denton?
Yes, good afternoon. Looking at page 21 of your board packet, we've completed 5 months of this current fiscal year. Fiscal year begins July 1 and ends June 30th of each year. The main things I would highlight for this month, not a significant change in balance sheet between November and October. One of the highlights I would point to is the amount of capital infrastructure improvements the plant board's done. Just in the last 5 months of this year, we've done $7 million in infrastructure investment. So that's part of the rates that we take in from our customer owners, investing back into our system, electric, water, telecom. So that's probably the biggest balance sheet change. And then, as you notice there in our statement of revenues, expenses, and change in net position, electric and water revenue is above budget and actual from last year due to increased usage from customers, and we're right in line with budget on our telecom revenue. We are down on expenses about 5%, so overall those combined we're tracking better than expected and setting up well going into this winter season. Hopefully it's uneventful. But I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Those charts and all the extra stuff you sent us were great, and I shot you a message, and I didn't go back and look and see, is one of the reasons we're running lower on expenses, have we got a lot of vacancies, or what's causing the payroll that we're actually running under?
Yes, that is the primary reason. So we've budgeted a certain amount of payroll, and there are positions that are open, whether they were open from the start of the year or some that have team members leaving the company and having open positions. So we do have a cushion. As sometimes I mentioned the winter and payroll sometimes can get us whenever we have significant amount of overtime due to winter storm outages. So we have a good cushion going into the winter.
Good. Any questions for David? We need a motion to accept the financials. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Financials are accepted. Thank you, sir. Public comment? I think we had 3.
We've had 3 web comments that
Yeah.
have all been addressed prior. I don't have anybody else signed up to do public
Okay.
comment.
And everybody had a chance to see the web comments if there's,
Yep.
okay. Destiny Award.
The whole team came.
Is that right?
I got the crew together.
Yeah. You got a big old check, JC? You know those cardboard checks?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Staff is pleased to announce that FPB has again been selected for its 11th Kentucky Employers Mutual Insurance, or the KEMI Destiny Award, for workplace safety. As mentioned, sir, this is our 11th time being selected and reflects the pattern of a positive safety culture. This award could not be possible without our incredible employees at all levels here at FPB. It really is our employees that makes an award like this possible. And to highlight our efforts of our employees, sir, we've prepared a short video presentation that I believe David's going to bring up, just highlight our employees working safely. At the end of it, I'll allow Eli to come up here and Charlie make some remarks and answer any questions. Sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'll let Eli from Kentucky Employers Mutual Insurance make some remarks for you.
Good afternoon. Thank y'all for having me. My name's Eli Roberts with Kentucky Employers Mutual Insurance, and we write the workers' comp insurance for the plant board, and we've written it for several years now, and hopefully your all's faces look familiar. I come out here about every year
Yes.
and give y'all the Destiny Award. Looking back, this is y'all's 11th year winning the Destiny Award, and we were talking about this earlier. You all have to be probably one, maybe one other company that has won it since we've been doing this. So y'all do a great job with safety here, and great to work with as well. The plant board always is a special place for me anyways. Born and raised here in Frankfort. I got quite a few friends that I graduated high school with that have worked for the plant board over the years and currently work for the plant board. So I really always enjoy my time coming down here and seeing everyone. Just to tell you a little bit about the Destiny Award, we have about 20,000 policyholders, and this year we have about 28 recipients of that award. You all being one of those. How we kind of picked the Destiny Award, I know you all have heard this before because y'all have won it so many years, but we go and look at all 20,000 of our policyholders, and we kind of cut that list down with some criteria of premium amount, your loss ratio, your experience modification rate, a lot of insurance things that we kind of look at. and gets that down to not as many policyholders as you would think, but cuts that number down quite a bit. Our criteria on just 2 levels that we look at is you have to have at least a 45% or lower loss ratio, and then your experience mod has to be under a 0.80, which those 2 alone are pretty hard to do in this day and age. And for you all, I ran your all's numbers and looked at that. You all have a 0.76 experience mod, and your loss ratio is incredible. It's a 28%, which is great. I don't know. As many years as y'all been with us, I don't know if we see them much lower. I mean, it's really great, great loss ratio on that end. The experience mod as well, great. This award was kind of created to kind of show policyholders that kind of use our same kind of motto, control your own destiny. We look for companies not just on the number side of it, but that obviously have a great safety program, a formal safety program, does regular on-site safety training, regular safety training, regular safety meetings, which y'all do, and works good with us. Works well with us as well. I come out and meet with JC quite a bit. He's on our safety council as well here at KIMI, so we communicate quite a bit. So all in all, just everything that y'all do is from a safety standpoint is excellent at all levels. From the board down to all employees as well. This is a company award. It can't work without all the staff, as JC said, so we look at that as well. Y'all do a great job. We can't do it. We can't do this alone, too, so we really appreciate everything you all do with us. Y'all's agent as well. I know Charlie and Jim are here. Everything that they do for you all as well, and do for us as well on that end. So, y'all keep it up. 11 years. I have a pretty good feeling. I'm sure I'll probably be back here again. So for year number 12, I really appreciate it. Thank y'all very much for having us, and congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Jason. Thank you. Maybe we start hanging banners in here.
Ms. Cuba, actually, I just want to remind that many our job, linemen or others, probably one considered most dangerous job.
Yes.
Yes.
You're exactly right. All of our people that are out there, cable, water, electric, are all out there with heavy equipment and tools. It's. And the people that work at the maintenance that down on Myrtle,
The safety is not only employee to the
Right.
public.
Yes.
Yes.
Public information? Miss Lindsay?
I'm gonna keep it short because it's during the day, but just to follow up on talk about the tax. Again, we've been talking about it to the public. We've put information about it on our website. We've linked it from our social media. We've put it out there. We've been in the newspaper. We've talked about it on the radio, and then we've been talking about it on Cable 10. So we're hitting it from all angles so that people know what it is, and not to stress out about it, and that they'll be contacted if they're affected. So I hope that's a good thing. We've been pretty busy. We're happy to be closing out the year after a successful year. The last thing that we did as a group, we covered the Frankfort Christmas Parade Saturday night, and that was in partnership with the city and with Cap City Communications and with the governor's office. It was a success, and we were able to air it live again this year. And then we've been on Cable 10 and Facebook and YouTube, and then we've been replaying it back over Cable 10. It was a great event. They had double the entries this year in the parade than they had from last year, so more and more participation, and it's growing. And it's a big event up there at the Capitol with food trucks and music and activities for families and kids. So we're happy to be a part of that. And we partnered specifically with Cap City this year in the coverage of it. So we joined. They didn't have something going, and us had something going. We just got together and did one joint coverage of it. So it was great. Again, I can't say enough about the marketing and communications team, Cable 10 crew, and things that they've been doing, even outside of our regular duties. This week we rang the bell at Kroger to help out the Salvation Army. We love doing things like that, just being out and accessible to the people. And we had a lot of people come by that talk about how they watch the show and love it. And they're always happy to give us ideas of stuff we should do. So we love that. Appreciate that. We do want to encourage people. Another thing that is big to be talking about, especially this time of year, is our Power of Giving, which is our Power Certificates. If you don't know what to get, we'll tell people, anybody watching, if you're still wondering what you should get someone as a gift for Christmas, you should check out our Power Certificates, and that's where you can come in and put in, it's pretty much like a gift certificate for someone for their FPB bill. And all you have to do is come in and tell somebody who you would like to purchase it for. Our customer service representatives are happy to help you do that. It's a perfect gift for young adults who, they might have bills they have, or really anyone would benefit from the power of giving. So that is on our website. You can just go to fpb.cc. It's one of the main slides on our homepage to get more information about that. Or you can just go directly to fpb.cc/power. I think that's about it. We're still working on marketing opportunities for Next Band Stream, and we're going to be starting a new spot for our Watch TV Everywhere here probably next week. So does anybody have any questions?
Well, I have two things I was going to mention real quick. One, the Christmas thing was great, and the FPB truck looked really good.
Yes, we had 3 trucks in it this year. 2 trucks, a tractor pulling a trailer. So I know, again, I want to appreciate everybody over at the service center, Leanne, who kind of gets that together for everybody, for getting those trucks decorated. I know, I appreciate that they just love doing it, and they bring their families and they ride in the parade and just enjoy all that. Again, just another example of being community engaged and really family friendly for everybody.
And then a grievance against you.
Oh, no.
Well, the night they rang the bell at Salvation Army at Kroger's, I had a customer stop me in the battery section right before I saw you, Jason, and who had an issue. So I found Kathy in another aisle, who I thought would help me. She just
I'm busy.
Just went on with her shopping, just like that, you know.
I believe Kathy was not on duty.
On duty at the time.
I will update on that. We have taken care of that.
Good. She's a very nice.
Harvey has reached out to that customer, and
she's a very nice lady.
Squared away.
Yeah, thank you. So, anybody has any questions for?
All right.
Okay.
I just want to wish you guys a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Next, David, no related party transactions?
Unless there's anyone needs to inform us, then I'm not aware.
Somebody get something off their chest and want to come forward?
That's right. Confess now.
Okay, Vit?
Yes, we'll start with Darren Rambo, the director of our Network Operations Center, and that report is on page 93 in your ward package.
Hey, good afternoon. For November, the NOC report, it looks like the NOC took 2,321 phone calls for November, and the locate staff did 722 locates for the month of November. So for the fiscal year from July to November, we've done 3,884 locates across the 3 utilities. That's 11,652 total. And that's an average, a 5-month average of about 777 locates a month. That's what we're averaging right now. So busy as usual, and I don't know, maybe it'll slow down a little bit with winter, but who knows? If not spring, it'll be right back.
Yeah.
So, any questions I can answer for folks? No?
Darren, thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Okay, next will be our customer service department, and that will be Cassie Essel, our customer services supervisor. That report is on page 95 through 98 in your board package.
Good afternoon. It's me again. As Vince said, the reports are on pages 95 to 98 of your packet. For our payment plans for the customer service department, these are our payment arrangements. We're happy to report that those are down again. We're down to 241 of those, which is about average. This would be what a normal month would look like prior to the pandemic. The month of November marked the 2-year mark for the default payment plans that were required during the pandemic, and all of those have been taken care of that were automatic plans. What remains are specific ones with our CSRs, so that number continues to trend down. Our ACP numbers are about the same, and that's holding at 622 accounts, people taking advantage of that program to utilize, and then just busy fielding the calls and emails about the sales tax. Kathy mentioned our gift certificate program, and that's a great thing, and we offer it, and I don't think people think about that, but our service reps or our cashiers, either one can help people with that. And another easy way to give is we offer a roundup feature on your account. We have about 674 customers that currently participate in that, but it's a easy way for you as the customer to just click a box on your account and just round up your bill to the next whole dollar. So it's just a few cents sometimes, however, all that together adds up, and we're able to contribute that to Winter Care as well for our customers.
What's going on as far as at this point with the LIHEAP program and, assistance now? Because by the next time we see you, we'll be in the middle of winter and bills will start to be going up. They're already going to be going up with the, home heating, and that is in terms of assistance, the people that are looking to have problems, I assume LIHEAP has already taken their applications and so forth, or?
Yes, those typically start mid-November, and in years past, they've done them alphabetically by the client last name, and then at the end, they kind of have a catch-up or a missed cycle. However, if you feel like you might qualify, I always encourage every customer, go ahead and reach out to them, even if the deadline for your name or the date might have passed, if there are funds available.
And that's community action, right?
Yes, Bluegrass
Yeah.
Community Action facilitates the LIHEAP program. Our local churches help with our ROSM program, Salvation Army, and Kentucky Housing are all still assisting customers.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions?
Any questions for John?
Yeah, Cassie, looking at the chart of the year-over-year comparison for November, were we restricted on our lobby hours in last November? Because we've got a real higher numbers on payments and payment arrangements from this year over last year, and I was just wondering if there's a particular reason for that.
Yes, we did not open the lobby in person again until June of this year.
Okay.
So we were
All
still
right.
offering
I didn't-
curbside service at that time, and people could come here and we would assist them in the parking lot. But all the payment plans at that point were being done electronically, and now
Okay.
people are, I guess, coming back in to talk to us about
Right.
that. So,
Sounds good. Thank you.
any other questions? Thank you all. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Okay, next will be the telecom report, and that will be Adam Heller, the telecom superintendent. He'll also give you a briefing on next band, how that's progressing, and that report is page 99 through 102 of your board package.
Good afternoon. As Vince stated, the cable report starts on page 99 with the customer penetration numbers for the month of November. The next page is the trouble call report, which we're kind of average on trouble call. Nothing really stands out there. However, the last page, we had 4 outages for the month of November, some blown fuses, some power inserter, and one of our contractors actually damaged our cable. That's it for the general report. On the next band, underground crews are finishing up in Duckers. So after they finish their part, we'll have contractors come in, pull the fiber in, and start splicing that. They also have begun working in 2 creeks, starting that project. So as far as underground goes, we're ahead of schedule. Doesn't mean we're going to turn it on any faster, but at least we're getting the conduits and everything else in place. Because they do have a shorter window as it gets colder and weather. They'll definitely slow them down. So they are ahead of schedule right now. The overhead crews, they have completed the backbone fiber from Twilight Trail area back to the head end that I talked about last month. That is complete, and they're working on splicing that up and getting that section so we can activate those groups. We're finishing up the final leg of Silver Lake and hopefully have it activated and offer service about the 2nd week of January.
And when will Duckers probably come on?
It's probably 5 to 6 months.
Okay,
I mean,
really?
it's really, yeah, because they put the conduit in, then you have a crew come back and they run all the fiber, then you have to splice it and test it, so it's a little bit.
Yeah.
Be happy to answer any
How about
questions.
materials now? Are they coming in, or?
We've had some trouble, but we've still been able to, make phone calls and do the best we can to
Okay.
get it, so, yeah.
Any questions for Ed? Steve?
On the video on demand, I see where it's down low, and I was noticing on David's sheet, the trend line, how it was going so low.
Yeah.
Is that just a feature that we use to attract people to the other features? Because
The video on demand,
uh-huh.
that was the service that actually went out of commission last month.
Okay.
So those numbers are definitely going to trend. Actually, that we mistakenly reported the numbers. So actually, this month that VOD was be like 100 usage. So because it's actually not in service anymore, and it was kind of if you took our advanced set-top box, that was a service that you got on top. So if you subscribe to it, it was just kind of a sticky service that went along with cable and set-top boxes.
And has the letter gone out?
Letter has gone out.
And that means, so for people who want that, if they follow that letter, they can still get it for free, right?
Yes, through TV everywhere, and there's some content on our next band service as well. Yes.
The other question, again, back to David's sheets about the speeds of the internet.
Yes, sir.
So how many people do we still have below 50, I guess?
I don't have that in front of me, but
Yeah, I think below our 25, our currently advertised lowest speed is 25 meg. We have around 400 customers below that number grandfathered in packages we no longer sell. So we would encourage those customers. We'd love to have them up to our lowest speed. You cannot purchase anything less than 25 today.
You don't have me to kick around anymore, buddy. I moved up.
thank you.
Did you see, hey, just a quick aside, on the news, they were interviewing Chuck Schumer, the majority leader, said he's still got a flip phone. Just saying, coming back.
Next, we'll have the electric report with the electric superintendent, Scott Hudson. And after Scott does his report, Travis McCullough, our chief electrical engineer, will give the AMI update.
Good afternoon, everybody. As you can turn to page 103, you'll see our SAIDI number for the month of November is 32.927. Page 104 is our pie chart, which shows the percentages of types of outages we had. When you get to page 105, it has your actual total number of outages per those percentages, and you'll see we had a total of 20 outages for the month of November. And on page 106, you will see that it's the top 10 outages for we had in November, with a total of 1,242 customers affected. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for?
Thanks, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Really briefly on AMI, we're progressing slowly but surely. You may remember last month we got our first shipment of electric meters in about a year, so we're putting those out as we can with existing staff. I think that scheduled shipment of a few hundred meters a month will probably be the case for now until probably the end of the first quarter next year. So we'll just progress as long as we can as we get materials. Happy to answer any questions.
So the materials, in fact, the other day when we were doing the checks, I saw we got a pretty good size shipment in.
And we did a few hundred meters. We got a few hundred more the last couple of weeks, and we've got a few hundred more on the way. So yeah, they're coming. We're 3 or 4 pallets. We wish it was 30, but taking what we can get right now. Yep. All right, thank you.
Thank you. SEPA?
Okay, next, I'll give the SEPA report. That's on page 107 through 109 in your board package. You'll notice for the month of October, we cleared $58,073. And so for this calendar year, that brings us up to almost $2.3 million. So that's been a very good calendar year for us. And I'll be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Questions on? Okay, safety?
The KYME.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, KYME.
KYME really don't have many new things proposed. If you look at their cash on hand, based on their cash flow currently, they are still below 40 days. Because as you remember, if it's above 40 days, then they will stop charging that $3 per megawatt hour to us. That's also direct impact our retail customer too. But meanwhile, I didn't see a change very soon. I suspect this is probably going to go to next year, sometime middle of next year.
Okay, if there are no questions on KYME8, then safety is our next report, and that's the Safety Director, John Lyons, and that report's 111 through 112.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As Vince alluded, page 111 through 112 is our safety report. For the month of November, we did sustain 1 OSHA recordable at our water treatment plant facility. An employee sustained a fall performing maintenance and repairs and actually injured their lower back. The employee sought treatment at a medical provider, was diagnosed with a back strain, and was placed on restricted duty for a short time. The employee has since been released back to normal duty and recovered. On our vehicle accidents, sir, happy to report none for the month of November. I'll be happy to answer any questions, sir.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll go to our water distribution report with our superintendent, Brian Bourne. And when he is done, David Billings, the director of water, will give you the reservoir update.
Good afternoon. Two of our graphs didn't make it into the board packet, but it would start on 113. For the month, we installed 9 new services. We had 2 main breaks and 3 outages, so we had a pretty good month there. Besides the normal board report stuff, construction, we've completed main replacement projects on Matador, Cortez, and Castile Court. Got those done this month, so that's good. And then we're also preparing for some extremely cold weather. It's going to be coming in next week, so we're getting prepared for that, seeing single digits and really cold wind chills. So,
Are we, and is Kathy Lindsay still around?
Yeah.
Have we started running the things on Cable 10
I was
about?
going to talk to her
Oh,
about that.
yeah. Where's she at?
She's back here.
Yeah, start running the things on Cable 10 where we
The
tell
tips,
people about
the tips,
letting
open
water,
your
you know, and
cabinets, let
locking
your water
vents.
run.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll get all that on there so our customers.
We have
Yeah.
a series that we do. We already have them running and
Okay.
and they'll change out.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
it's on.
Yeah, we're expecting some really cold weather, so it always has to hit at the holiday too.
Yeah.
So.
Any questions for?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Reservoir update, we did not have a construction progress meeting in December. I have to put those on hold to the lack of work that's getting done. We'll start those back up when the work progresses, but other than that, we have received and approved our 15th payment. The project is 96% complete. Completed work includes the channel lining for the overflow system, a gravel access road to the new tank in the back. The contractor's electrical work has been completed. Now the water department has some electrical work remaining up there. The winter cover seating and strawing has been completed. Over the next few months, the fencing along Altamont and in front of the tank should take place. The head rail on the head wall and retaining wall should be completed. Continuing installation of the modified planning scheme as plants become available, and also weather permitting. Completion of the site restoration, weather permitting. Paving, like I told you last month, has been delayed into the spring. And wanted to remind the public, the final seeding of the native grasses to occur in early summer. So it'll be a while, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Just and really, David, to you and your entire team, I mean, the whole thing on the reservoir, the construction, you all have done an unbelievable job. I mean, it's just been, well, it's
a lot of things have to come into alignment for
Yeah.
that to happen. You have to have a good contractor. You have to have good people here willing to do our part. You have to have a good engineer, and all that's kind of come into line.
yeah. Well, I mean, you did an excellent job riding herd over it and keeping all the pieces moving together. So you did a great job. Thank you and your team.
It's been a team effort.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the last of our department reports will be the water treatment plant report with the superintendent, Brandon Powers. I said Brian, sorry.
Good afternoon, everybody. For the month of November, the water treatment plant treated 236,614,000 gallons of water for a daily average of 7.8 million gallons per day. Lock 4 averaged 1,012 cubic feet per second for an average of 653,752,000 gallons of water, and 2 inches of rainfall fell in the watershed for this month.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Does that conclude, Bill?
That concludes the departmental reports, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. First action item 7.1, is we're going to talk about Gary Zing behind his back. No, it's in front of you on tab 7.1. We've got Gary's current contract, and what the contract provides is no salary increase. What it does provide is he's got 2 more years on his current contract, and it does increase each year the retention bonus or retention amount that he gets, but only if he stays all the way till the end. If he doesn't stay till the end, he doesn't get it, and he has to have a good evaluations in order to do it, but that's only available to him if he's here through June 30th, 2024. And it also, and Gary did not ask for either one of these, The other thing it does is if Gary, it slipped out, he was not complaining, but it's that Gary has not been taking all of his vacation time for several years. Because of work here, he just doesn't get to take it. So what it does, it allows him to earn, I think it's 10 extra days over the next 2 years of vacation if he doesn't use it to be compensated for it if he's got that balance. It currently is 6 weeks, and this would allow him to have 8 weeks of vacation. And, I mean, he still can use it, but if he doesn't take it, and he's had a habit of not taking his time. Is that fair, sir? Yes, so, but that's basically what it does. It does not change his salary arrangement or anything, but it does, because, you know, we see the salaries. I mean, he's, what the market is for his position, and this just adds some to his incentive that if he stays till the end, what his final amount could be, and he could either take that, hopefully he won't take it at all, he'll stay, but he could take it, put it in a 401k, he could do whatever. He could go out and buy him a big bucket truck, whatever he wanted to do. Well, a small bucket truck, older one with high mileage. Anyway, so that's 7.1. Do we have any discussion? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the amended changes to the general manager's contract.
Do we have a second? We have a motion second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Congratulations, Gary. Get you an old F-150 with a.
You still got to sign it though, right?
Huh?
He still got to sign
Yeah. Oh,
it.
yeah.
So-
Yeah. No signature. Nothing. The next item, just to give Gary the authorization to do it, is you all have probably seen a lot of things in the news about things going on utilities nationwide. Catherine sent us some stuff earlier. I noticed FERC yesterday announced, the FERC chairman, that he was launching a nationwide review of facilities after some of the incidents in North Carolina and some other places. And Bennett said, I think next year we're coming up for a security assessment review in what, water and electric vent, or just electric?
It would be electric and telecom.
Electric and
We would
telecom.
do. Yeah.
But to ask Gary to take a look over the next 30 days and get someone just to do an assessment for us, not to do any work, not to buy anything, just to come in and do an inventory for us, look at our facilities, find someone. The amount will probably be very minimal, so Gary could do it under the small purchase authority to get somebody in here, but to get us an assessment. And again, it's an area that you can only do so much because of the nature of utilities. But nationally, it's like everything else. It's a lot of copycat things going on and so forth. But this would allow Gary to do it. And Catherine, you've looked into some. Do you want to have any comments or?
No, I think staff's got a plan on how to move forward and make sure we stay safe.
Yeah. So, and like I said, Gary can go out and do it and bring it to us in January, but I think the amount is if you find someone to get them to come in and do the assessment, that we could, you know, get that underway, just let us know what we might do, what it might cost, and what actions we could take. Jason?
I guess I'd just like to make a public statement that, I mean, this is terrorism.
Yes,
It's not-
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I think if people are looking at the reports, I mean, for years I've been following that
Uh-huh.
this is possible, and there's been a lot of, but if anybody knows of anyone planning to do this, because
Yeah.
it seems like on its face, it just seems like maybe juvenile fun,
Mhm.
or it's not. I mean, many people could get hurt.
Yes.
Especially in the winter. It can do a lot of damage to communities, a lot of damage to grids. And I mean, the one in North Carolina, I think they're talking about months and months and months before they get everything back and going. So I think the news reports I've been reading, if you don't understand the context, they come across as more just sort of people, you know, just, but it's not, it's terrorism.
Yeah,
And
these
it
aren't
should be
cars
treated
running
that
into a
way.
telephone or to an electric pole. These are people.
These aren't accidents.
Yes.
They're not
Right.
accidents,
Trying
no.
to hurt the lives of tens and 20 and 40 thousands of people, and some might lead to people's deaths. So I just want everyone, as we go forward with this, to understand that this is not, you know, a joke. It's not just,
Right.
I'm trying to say it's not like hooglerism. It's
Right.
truly terrorism, and it should be treated as thus. Because I am concerned the copycat stuff is starting to see
Yeah.
in the country, and I don't really see in the media people really emphasizing how dangerous this really is. So, you know, just want to make that statement.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, because it is, it's,
100%.
and this just, you know, lets Gary kind of put all the pieces together, see what FERC's doing, get everything together, get somebody to give us some advice, look at some things and see what else we might do.
We definitely would like whatever we do, first assessment, the second, hopefully whatever we can do, we can improve it. I think staff, they already consciously for years prepare ourselves, not necessarily for the event, just to build a lot of more extra capacity under the either weather condition or incident happen, then they can have a more capability, keep the reliability. So in that perspective, we do have a lot of room, hopefully we can say, but certainly assessment is very necessary. I think Wyndham already spent a lot of time on that, including involve our local law enforcement. And fortunately, we have a staff, some have a lot of knowledge background on the security issue, can help us. When do you want to talk about it or later?
Yeah, I think the one thing I would kind of, I guess I want to say caution a little bit is, you know, that this is a public forum, and obviously we're talking about security and those kind of things. So I'm going to kind of limit what I say here. We'd be happy to discuss, obviously, with the board on a one-on-one basis, and we'll give you reports as we go forward. So I think we're in good shape, but again, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have. I think it'd probably be best to do that offline, though.
And the open meetings law clearly provides for that.
Yes.
That things of this type nature, you can go into closed session to talk about detailed.
Yes.
So we have it as an action item. Do we have a motion to authorize Gary to kind of begin the process of the inventory and get some of that done? We have a motion. We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's passed. Next one is consider revisions to community solar project.
Good evening, or good afternoon, sorry again, everyone. Last month, the board approved the contract to begin phase 1 construction of the community solar project here behind the admin building. We're all, of course, very excited to get that underway. Before we get going, though, there were a few open items I think the board wanted some more information on. So staff has been working with our awarded vendor to get prices on a few potential changes to the contract. The first item we discussed is some changes to the fence. The original bid package had a 6-foot fence with a foot of barbed wire. I think there was some concerns about the aesthetics of that, obviously, you know, for good reason. So we talked to the contractor. They can provide us a change order to replace that with a 6-foot, you know, kind of a black coated chain link fence with no barbed wire. They found another vendor that could provide that, so they offer that for no cost change to the contract if the board wants to consider that. My only concern there that I passed back to them is as long as it still meets the code requirements. So of course we all want to be safety code aware on that. So they're tasked with making sure that's still the case, but it is a no cost change if the board wants to go that direction. Another change they proposed, just for consideration, they're not suggesting or not suggesting it, was a larger disconnect and load center. So basically what that would be is if we want you could kind of think of it as the breaker box to be big enough for all 4 phases right up front. They gave us a cost for that of $28,300. My opinion, I don't know that that's necessary right away, right now, to go with the big full-size switch. Again, we have a price for it. If the board wants to go that direction, I think we could wait and phase that in the same as we're doing the panels and inverters and everything else. We've taken a phased approach with that. My thoughts are take a phased approach with the disconnect as well. But
Travis, did they make a comment that there could be an issue with getting some of that equipment in a timely manner? Or I could be thinking, we hear that all the time. So
yeah, that was one of the areas of concern was the bigger disconnect. Yes. They wanted to know right away. I think that's the reason they put it in this particular change order.
So it could introduce a delay.
Potentially, it could drag things out a little bit. I don't know that they had an exact lead time on it, but that was one area of concern for them, was that bigger disconnect switch.
Would you need the bigger switch? Like say it's got 4 phases, we're doing the first phase.
Right.
Say it went well, we do phase 2. Do automatically we need the bigger breaker box?
I think we would just phase in a few smaller ones.
Okay.
Yeah, so we would, in my eyes, we have 4 phases, we have 4 smaller disconnect switches and load centers.
If we do what we do now, and say all 4 phases go, 28,000 is the cost differential to go from what we got to the bigger one.
All right.
If we had to come back and take
Go
out
three
the
more
one we got
small
and
ones.
put a bigger one in, what's that cost gonna be? Is that like, I assume that won't be 28,000 anymore, that'd be a
Right,
much
yeah.
bigger figure to tear out one and put a brand new.
Sure, yeah. To be honest with you, I don't know exactly. I can find out. And
I just wonder what, are we looking at 28 now? And if we have to take that out later, put in a bigger one, 100,000 for the bigger, if we're not paying the difference between two, now we're doing a full replacement.
Or if what Travis said, if we're going to do 4 small ones, is the cost of 4 small ones going to equal the 28,000?
Right.
And if we could get a comparison on that, that would help us, that would help me anyway
Okay,
in terms of
yep.
having a decision. The other question I have, Travis, from a technological standpoint, is there a difference in terms of the efficacy of having one large load center disconnect versus if we have 4 phases, 4 smaller ones? Is there an advantage to either one?
I think potentially you have more points of failure if you do 4 small ones, but
That's kinda what I thought,
Yeah,
so.
I don't know that that's a big concern, but yeah,
Right.
any more pieces, there's potentially more areas that can fail. But
What do you think, Jason?
Well, I think what John, these guys are getting at is, I'm completely prepared that anything we can lay infrastructurally now
Yeah.
for all 4 phases, that maybe we pay a little more of a premium, but it then saves us down the road. Like fencing would be a good example. It's not like we're taking fencing down and expanding. So
Right.
anything like that just makes sense to build in now, rather than still kind of incentivizes and more economic to go 4 phases.
Sure.
We should do that.
Okay, so should we get then a 4 phases, the exact dollar amount to compare apples to apples versus the 28,300?
Yeah.
Does that
I
make
would-
sense?
I would like to see it, but then again, even if it's less expensive, I think there is some merit to what Jason said, is we lay this infrastructure now, if we're able to get it, and, just anecdotally, based on what I'm hearing from people I've talked to, I think we're gonna get a lot of people sign up for that. I think we're gonna end up doing all 4 phases when it's all said and done. Hopefully I am. Hopefully we get the people to sign up for it, but, I think we're gonna need it, and like I said, I think there is some advantage to plowing the road and, paving the road and making sure everything's good to go to begin with. But unless there's a significant cost savings, I don't see any reason why we couldn't do the big one right now.
Okay.
So,
And do you need to, we won't meet again till January.
Right,
And you were
yeah.
talking about the timing and so forth, and Vic brought up delays. Do you need to be able to go on and tell them right now, or just losing a month?
does it affect us?
Yeah.
I think on this one in particular, they were kind of concerned about the lead time. Again, I don't know that they had an exact date in mind that the lead time was going to be on this. It was just sort of offhand passed along that was a little bit of an area of concern. I think, of course, the more information we can give them up front to get, off and running on, the better. But, if we need another month to get more data, we can certainly do that too.
And I don't know if it's in order yet, Mr. Chairman, but would a contingent
Yes.
motion be in order perhaps once we finish out what we're gonna do here?
I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
I think if based on research, staff finds that it's more cost-effective long-term to go with the 28,000 than the possibility of the 4, or to come back at a later date and have to replace,
Sure.
that you're authorized to go on and spend the extra 28
Right.
Okay.
at
Makes
this
sense.
point.
Yep.
And that way we don't lose a month in ordering.
and we can do that in the form of
Yeah.
motion when we're done with this entire discussion.
Yeah.
Whenever the time's right, Mr. Chairman, we can do that.
Okay. Makes
Hey,
sense.
You got another piece to this?
There is a third piece to it. So the native pollinator seed, pollinator garden, whatever you prefer to call it. That was another one we discussed briefly last month, at least exploring the possibility of doing so. Had a long conversation with Aaron Patrick at KU, who's led the effort on a lot of their solar projects, including the pollinator garden, the sheep grazing they do there as well. So he shared, he's a wealth of knowledge on the issue. So anyways, we had a conversation with him. He gave us some recommendation on seed mixes, who to talk to, those types of things. We tasked Solar Energy Solutions, the vendor who's doing the project, to get pricing on a pollinator garden. That price that they proposed is $22,045. That price is a little bit contingent on how much weed control they have to do. I think there's some unknowns going into it. They don't know if they do 1 round of treatment, if that's going to take care of everything, or if they need to do 4. So I think they have priced it as what's most likely to be a worst case scenario. That's several trips to Frankfort to do weed control. Another thing they mentioned, we talked about timelines on the disconnect switch. This one I think is much less time sensitive, if that makes sense. They would actually prefer to get started in the fall. They said that's preferable to start actually in the fall of next year with the weed control and the cover crop planting. So I think there's certainly time to mull this one over, or if the board is wholeheartedly in favor, we can go ahead and commence on the pollinator garden.
Well, I noticed the other night, the city commission was talking about pollinator gardens, and this is right, Mr. Snyder's wheelhouse. The transportation apparently is using that
Yes.
more and more
They've done it for a long time.
as a way to actually save
Right-of-ways,
cost on
yes.
mowing.
Right.
That they're actually using that so they don't have to mow.
Yes.
Yeah, it is much less expensive to keep it mowed. Most of the pollinator gardens, I think you're looking at once, maybe twice a year, as opposed to several times every month. You're
So in the
looking at
long term, you could actually save. Now, if we went with the pollinator garden and we end up going with 4 phases, do we have to end up tearing out some of that pollinator garden at a later date, or?
I think there's some risk to damage to it, but I don't think you're talking about tearing it all out. No, that was certainly not my understanding. What they have quoted would cover the entire site. Probably makes it a little bit more difficult to work around. You run the risk of damaging it as you're setting posts and installing panels. Another option we could consider is just doing a smaller pollinator area that would essentially match the area that we have panels. That may make more sense. Again, the price that they quoted was for the entire site, but we could explore
Catherine,
that
or
alternative
Steve?
too.
We heard about the guy, I think the guy that you were talking to, we heard him yesterday. I think, did he say that they sometimes put it down before they put the panels up?
I'm not sure about that, but I thought he said that they like to do weed control in 3 different seasons.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm wondering about the waiting, that wouldn't they want to start with the spring season?
Yeah, so starting in the fall, he may have been referring to the planting in the fall. He may want to get started earlier with the weed control. I don't remember if it was exactly listed. It may not be in that proposal he sent. Again, I think there's time to research more and mull it over a little longer. I don't know that there's any cause for concern if we get more prices and make a decision in January or February. I think there's time to do that.
Catherine, you and Jason have worked a lot on this whole thing. What do you all think?
Well, strangely enough, I don't know what a pollinator garden is, at least by those terms. Would you mind defining it?
Sure, yeah. So it's a mix of native grasses and wildflowers. KU, again, I talked to him for quite a bit about the pollinator garden they have at the Brown facility near Harrodsburg. If you turn to page, I think it begins on about 131 in the board package. I'm sorry, 121.
It's you got a color handout,
Yeah, it'll be the second.
So, are you saying it's a series of plants you introduce that basically keeps the weeds down?
Correct.
And then also creates food source for bees and other pollinators?
Yeah, it's a food source for pollinators as well as keeps non-native grasses out of the area. I think that's the big battle is keeping those non-natives away. There is quite a bit of work that has to be done. It's not a set and forget type of system. That was one thing KU shared with me is you have to get in there and pull the weeds or they have sheep that mow their garden, if you will. I don't know if that's something we can get a price on and certainly explore. They don't own the sheep. They have other people kind of locally that they work with that help with the mowing. One thing they shared is a lot of the cost is, believe it or not, hauling them around town. So for a small site, I don't know if that'll make sense, but we could certainly explore that. But to answer your original question, yes, it's keeping the non-native grasses away and having food source. Yeah.
So what I hear you saying is you don't want to set up a sheep shed and have our own little flock. for the playboard?
I'm sure that would be nice. I don't know if the ordinances would allow us to. I think we're in city limits, so that may be.
The shearing revenue coming off of that.
Yeah, yeah.
I like the pollinators. That sounds like a good idea.
Well, apparently if you do it right, you might only have to bring them in the fall to kind of do one weeding or one whatever. But another thing that native plantings do is help with water infiltration.
Yes.
So that there's a very deep root system if you pick the right plants. And I mean, there's a whole science to this, including particularly for birds, a good habitat.
Right.
If you plant it right and it's not just kind of an invasive ground cover, but there's actually ground, bare soil or bare spaces around the plants, that's where your birds can get in and have a habitat. So there's a lot of good reasons for it, on top of having not to mow, go with the mowing for control. I would kind of like to give us a little more time to look at the plan.
I don't think this one is as time sensitive as other. So if there's
certainly we can wait till January on it.
Right, agreed. Because they wouldn't get started at least until the spring at the earliest. So if there's
the 22,000, that's prep and installation. That's not the first payment on the sheep, right?
Right. There's no mowing or sheep or otherwise included in that.
Okay.
22 doesn't get us any sheep at all.
None. No. Sir.
Cost ratio of sheep to pollinator.
No sheep were harmed during the construction of this pollinator shed.
Thank you so much. That was
Yep.
really important.
Okay.
On the contingent motion, that was contingent on the cost
Yes.
issue, but there's still the issue of potentially, if we make this change, it delaying the start of the project?
Potentially, I could get an exact date and find out if that would be the case. I'm sure they could tell me pretty quickly if it's going to be an additional delay, we could make that part of the contingency plan.
Yes, if we could do that.
Yeah,
So
Wanna
basically,
amend
we'd
it?
be
Absolutely.
doing the black fence, if that's okay.
Yes.
The contingent motion, if the cost
Right.
comparable,
So I'll
subject to no delay in the construction schedule.
And I thought, Travis, you said that, we can get this now, but we might not be able to get this later. So it seemed to me there'd be less of a chance for a delay of the project if we went ahead and made this change now than if we did it.
Right. Yeah, I think it was just the sooner the better type of decision.
Mr. Chairman, then if it's in order, I'd like to make a motion to approve a change to the community solar project to go with the black chain link fence in accordance with all safety and other guidelines, whatever fits in there. And secondly, I would like to direct staff to compare the price of the 1,000 amp load center and disconnect with the option of using 4 smaller connectors for the 4 phases. If the price of the larger load center disconnect is no greater than 20% higher than the 4 smaller ones and will not affect a delay in the project, I would direct staff to approve that change.
And to defer action on the pollinator.
Defer action on the pollinator until the January meeting.
Does everybody feel comfortable with that motion? Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good work, Travis.
All right, thank you.
Next one. Consider award of bid invitation number 1771, semi-annual price contract for water treatment chemicals. Brandon, you're spending money, buddy.
I'm trying.
Out of control.
Yeah, I'm trying. Staff prepares a semi-annual bid for chemicals to use in water treatment. The bid includes estimated quantities and explains that orders could exceed or fall short of the estimates. Vendors bid with the understanding that the bid's purpose is to hold unit price throughout FPB's fiscal year. This bid received 15 reverse auction bids. After reviewing each bid, staff recommends awarding to the lowest bidders meeting the specs with the exception of the powder activated carbon, which is based on geosmin and taste and odor. Or MIB and geosmin, I'm sorry.
Any questions or, I mean, it's not good, but this kind of takes care of your operating expenses running under budget, Mr. Denton.
Yeah.
Mr. Cuba, we do feel these are better prices than if we had tried to do it once over a 12-month period.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think by what we did, I think we actually saved for 6 months instead
Yeah.
of, this
Right.
probably would have been the yearly price or higher than that.
Yeah.
So I think we got probably 6 months saving is the way I look at it.
Do you think there's any coming down? I mean, we got to do this. I clearly know that, but I mean, in the future, you think it slows, or you think this is the new? Is this the new standard?
This may be the new norm. I don't know. I talked to a couple of the people that I deal with, and I talked to them before the bid went out, and they said we're just seeing, even our raw materials are going up. So their cost to make the material is going up. So
Yeah, because unless I'm missing it, there's no semiconductors in any of this.
no.
Brandon, we're okay on getting these things, right? There's not a tremendous lag time. We're not having any issues with getting the materials
No,
themselves.
just the carbon order that we
Right.
did back in July.
Uh-huh.
That was, and then we'll see a couple of days here and there. But what we're doing is we're ordering a lot earlier than what we're used to. So
Okay.
just to compensate for that, just to be sure that we can get it
good.
and run out. So
Okay, excellent.
If there's no further questions, do we have a motion? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Approved. Item number 7.5, consider award of invitation number 1772, semi-annual price contract for water treatment chemicals.
this is just this bid. Just received one sealed bid auction. This vendor will not do the reverse auction that we do. So they're the only people that meet our specs for salt. So this is why we do the sealed bid.
Any questions? We have a motion. Jason, second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is adopted. Thanks.
Thank you.
Harvey, you here? You're going to be up here for a while, buddy. First is consider accepting minutes for the September 13th, 2022 Cable Advisory Committee meeting.
Make a motion
Yes,
to
sir.
accept the minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Harvey, consider approving Sony Movie Channel amendment.
Yes, sir. Staff recommends approval of the Sony Movie Channel amendment. This is an NCTC amendment extending our term through September 30th of 2025. We carry Sony Movie Channel on the optional HD Plus tier, and this will allow us to maintain our same rate structure as it exists in the current agreement, and future year-over-year increases are based on CPI and capped at 5%. No other carriage requirements or obligations are included in this agreement. Happy to answer any questions you may have on this item.
Any questions? Do we have a motion? Second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Approved. Item 7.8, this is all about me here, Harvey. Consider approving MeTV agreement.
Yes, Cable Advisory Committee and staff recommend the board approve the MeTV agreement. This is a NCTC agreement with a term through September 30th of 2025. If you'll recall, FPB previously carried MeTV through our retransmission consent agreement for WLEX. WLEX dropped MeTV back in September, and we worked out a direct arrangement with Weigel Broadcasting to continue carriage for our customers, and since then NCTC has been able to execute an agreement with Weigel, so we are asking that we opt into that agreement, and there's no license fee for this carriage, and no additional carriage requirements are included. So happy to answer any questions on this item.
Any questions?
You know, John, you joke about this, but I tell you, since I've been on the board now almost a little over 3 years, this may be the one issue I've had more people talk to me about and thank that we were able to almost do a seamless transition. And people love those old shows on that channel, and it's just really good. And like I said, looking at the rates are right there too. So we're in good shape.
Star Trek.
If it's in order, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the MeTV agreement.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And consider approving Fox Broadcasting Network License Agreement and Fox Cable Network Services Agreement. And John mentioned to me before that this agreement is equivalent in length of the Magna Carta and.
I believe it was
What I said is it's actually longer than my master's degree dissertation and not
72
not as comprehensible. So yeah.
The advisory committee and staff recommend the board approve these two agreements. They are direct agreements. The one is with Fox for the carriage of Big Ten Network on our preferred cable tier, and then the other is for carriage of Fox Broadcasting network content on video on demand, but also, more importantly, probably for TV Everywhere content. So the increase on Big Ten Network, just under 4% annually, and the increases on the Fox broadcast content, 6.25% in year one and just under 6% in year two. Both of these are anticipated and actually a decent amount below what we budgeted. So no additional launch requirements or repositioning in these agreements. Happy to answer any questions you may have on these items.
I did have, Mr. Chairman, I did have one question of Harvey. I asked him beforehand. I'll ask him one in the meeting. For the Big Ten Network, we are not in the Louisville DMA area, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
So that means we're not part of the base of the Big Ten Networks area, so we're kind of an out-of-market folks for that.
Yeah,
So we get a
and the
different rate on that.
rate is significantly lower out of
Good.
market. We are,
Excellent.
in Lexington, we are in market for SEC Network because of the University of Kentucky. We are in market for the ACC Network because of Louisville, but we are out of market for the Big Ten
For the
Network.
Big Ten Network, good. Okay, thank you.
Do we have seeing no other questions, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Approved.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Merry
Harvey.
Christmas, Joe.
Item 7.10, consider approving CARES Act and SECURE Act for amendments to FPB's 401 Defined Contribution Plan. Ms. Brown, how you doing?
Good, good. Good afternoon, Board Chair and members of the board. On August 3rd, 2022, our Internal Revenue Service announced in Notice 2022-33 that it was extending the deadline for amending certain provisions of the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security, also known as the CARES Act, and the Setting Every Community Up for Retirement enhancement known as the SECURE Act. There were certain provisions that related to 401 plans, such as loan limits, COVID distributions, required distribution minimums, etc., that have been amended in the CARES and SECURE Act for a calendar plan year end. That means that certain provisions within these amendments must be adopted by December 31st, 2022. Nationwide recommends that the plan sponsor, which is Frankfort Plant Board, adopt these amendments for our 401 plan, be in compliance with the IRS. The SECURE and CARES amendments are located on page 279 of the detailed pages. Staff asked the board to approve the SECURE and CARES amendments. Does the board have any questions?
As far as any impact on employees, cost, what's this basically mean or do, Nichelle?
This is for administrative purposes, so no, there's no effects to our employees.
Okay.
And we don't even have to send out notices or anything. So it's a behind the scenes administration for the plan.
Okay. Any questions of Nichelle?
No.
All those do we have a motion?
I make a motion we approve the CARES Act and SECURE Act amendments for our 401 Defined Contribution Plan.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 8, informational items. The first one is 8.1. The city has received, as you know, we work with the city and contribute to the cost of the NREL Phase 1 report. And they have a Phase 2 proposal, which basically goes into more detail about Frankfort building a utility-size solar operation. The city's looked at that. They discussed it at their Monday meeting, and it's got a price tag of about $150,000. And I think they're going to consider voting on it this coming Monday. The city was mentioned during the meeting that they had given it to us. Gary forwarded it to us. And of course, they'd be interested if we wanted to contribute to the cost of that study. At the same time, I know Catherine and Steve and Gary went to a seminar yesterday on utilities, on these type of operations. I had a brief discussion with the mayor this week after the city commission meeting, and then Gary and I had the opportunity last week to meet with 2 KYMEA officials, one chairman of the board from Barberville and the chairman of the AR committee from Madisonville. It was a very good discussion, and they basically, no official action whatsoever, obviously, but they were very open to, if Frankfort wanted to pursue any type of standalone solar operation, not the community solar, but on a bigger scale, if it was cost effective, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Gary, bottom line, if it was cost effective, that if we wanted to carve out some type of project in terms of coordinate that in terms of future energy loads with KYMEA, or if it was a cost effective and KYMEA might even want to take advantage of some of that power, they were open, but of course their bottom line was they want to be cost effective for their ratepayers. I know the city's interested in a limited scale. What was it, Gary? Maybe about 8 megawatts was, I think, what NREL. And what I suggested to the mayor, and again, I couldn't speak for us and mayor couldn't speak for the city commission, was did we want to maybe take about 30 or 45 days? We got the Christmas holidays coming up here. But us put together, a couple of us and some staff, they put together a couple commissioners and staff, a very informal, not some big task force, but just an informal work group to basically walk through what are our options under KYMEA, what are the legal issues, what's feasible, what's cost effective, because we've got a lot of high level numbers. NREL's had some numbers, KYMEA has some numbers, but it comes down to, you know, how big a facility, how much land do we need, how much could we stand in terms of cost of financing, what could the power sell for. You know, everything we're seeing is that the costs are going to range in the 50 plus range, which is much higher than what we're looking at making current arrangements for. But to look at all this, kind of sort through it, and at that point, obviously the city is free to do whatever they want to do in terms of entering into a phase 2. But what I expressed to the mayor was, in order for us to kind of make a decision in terms of contributing or how we're headed in terms of power, we really need some harder, more direct figures to know what our impact on our ratepayers, what the costs are. So what this is not really voting to do anything, but authorizing Gary to make contact with the city and saying, do you all want to put together this work group? Because I promised the mayor we'd have a discussion on it and we'd express something before they vote on Monday. And they're free to vote on it, approve it, sign it, to vote on it, approve it, but not enter into it or pass over it. That's their call. That's totally their decision. But to say that we're willing to put together some hard figures, because we do have contracts coming off the next, 5 to 7 years, coal contracts rolling off. And there's an opportunity to replace some things. I mean, there's a lot going on. Now the latest is the nuclear reactor in a box, that which is not going to happen next year or in 10 years, but there's a lot going on. In the solar market. It's not like you can just turn around and make a decision today and build a large solar facility that's permitting in years to design it, but just kind of throw that open and see what y'all might want to do.
Well, I'll go first. Mr. Chairman, I think, if, you said it best. The city's going to do what the city wants to do. I feel like we need to be a partner with them in this. I don't know necessarily if we were much of a partner in the first time around. We didn't, we weren't really involved much in any discussions or anything. We helped finance the study, but we just, kind of just helped along there and didn't really have a lot of input into it. The results of that study I thought were very, very interesting. I'm not sure how specific some of the findings were. And, I think we're, once you start getting down to brass taxes, are we going to build something, is Frankfort the best place to build it? Can we find the land? Can we find the financing? There's a whole lot of issues that come into play. And I really think that your idea is a good one in terms of, maybe we can sit down and find out what the expectations of the city are for us. And so we're not ending, so they're not going down a path without thinking they have our support to do something, and they don't. You know, I know Jason, Catherine, and Steve, you know, Steve and Catherine attended the thing yesterday. Jason has a lot of knowledge in this area. And I think two of those could be, you know, I would feel very comfortable having any two of those be our representatives on some sort of a working group. And I feel like they can certainly hold their own and give the input of FPB. And, you know, we have, you know, general manager and Vent and the electric staff, I think can represent us very well as well. I'd feel very comfortable doing that, encouraging the mayor to work with us on that. That's just, those are just my thoughts.
And the mayor was very open and very cooperative. I mean, I think he wants to, he's very interested and committed. He understands the cost issues, and he wants to move forward, but I think he'd like to have a good feel for the numbers.
And I want to clarify one thing you said. The $150,000 number you threw out is the cost of the second part of the NREL study.
Yes.
Correct?
That's phase two. Is that my understanding, Gary?
Just so nobody's confused as to what that $150,000 is going to pay for. It's going to pay for phase two of a study.
Right.
So
and that's a quote that NREL has given the city, as I understand it, Gary, isn't it?
So,
yes.
I don't know what anybody else's thoughts are, but that's just what I'm thinking.
Well, I agree with both of you. I think we do need to get together with the city and sit down and talk about it. But my somewhat issue with their studies to date has been that they haven't involved some of the infrastructure that would be
100%
impacted
absolutely
in their discussion. So without the plant board's input into it and what it might cost us, without what the legal ramifications for KYMEA, going forward with the study as they're going, doesn't seem like it's going to get to a solution that they're looking for. So if they involve, I think the first step is what you're saying is bringing other parties into it, and if they do that and we can get some hard numbers, then I think they will have, you know, a certain direction. And yesterday, I think the conference that we went to, which was a perfect conference for city officials, because it kind of laid out the pathway to get to where I think the city wants to be.
And I was really impressed, and Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, I was really impressed. Two messages I got from the KYMEA officials is, one, they very much want us in KYMEA.
Yes.
And they wanted to reaffirm they want us in. They're more than willing to come up here and speak to us, speak to the city commissioner or anyone else. They're more than willing to consider a project, and their bottom line is no different than our bottom line. They want what's best for their ratepayers. That's right. That's where they stop and start. If it doesn't hurt their ratepayers, they're pretty much all in for whatever we want to do. They just don't want their ratepayers harmed. And is that fair, Gary? I mean, it's as simple as that. They're just saying, if you want to do it, and it doesn't hurt our ratepayers, and in fact, if it helps our ratepayers, this is great. And that's their opening and starting point and ending point, just their ratepayers.
And you're talking about members as opposed to the staff.
Right. This was two general managers who are on the KYME board. I mean, this is the people. One chairs the AR committee, and one is the chairman of the overall board. And they stayed about 2 hours, Gary, and they were very interested. I mean, they're up on it. They know what's going on, and they're watching the market. I did a webinar earlier this week on some energy things and cost drivers, and they're basically showing about 2050 coal totally disappearing from the energy market, but they're seeing a huge increase in natural gas.
Yep.
Because there's going to have to be, as we know battery today, there's got to be some big solid replacement, substitute or backup for the solar. But they're seeing the market shift. Just the line for coal went away, and the gas and the solar exploded on their power chart. So, Catherine?
I completely agree with this approach. I think the outcome could be a more well-defined study.
Absolutely.
Based on real information that applies to our community and where we are. So I agree.
Jason?
I agree with what everyone. I think we're at least all on the same page.
Yeah.
I am very thankful for the phase 1 NREL study. I feel like it helped galvanize the community. It helped everyone start singing from the same playlist, which we needed very badly. I do think, as John pointed out, that we were included somewhat, but maybe not as in depth as we would have been happy to be involved.
Right.
I imagine a deeper phase 2 study, we would maybe be asked to be in more, but
Yes.
I do agree with your approach, John, at least proposing to the city that we take a little bit of a pause in order to make sure that we internally as a community are all on the same page with the nuts and bolts so that we can maximize that study and make sure, because once you get into that phase 2 study, it is a focused analysis. And if you focus over here versus focusing over here because you're not on the same page, you're going to waste a lot of time and energy going in the wrong direction. So I think that's important. And if it's viable, I think building something here would make sense. But obviously the economics, all the numbers need to be run on it.
So Gary, if you would, like I said, we don't have to take any kind of vote on this. I'll let the mayor know we talked about it. He was going to try to tune in for this, but I'll let him know we talked about it. And then if you'd follow up with the city manager, and then I guess Jason, Catherine, and Steve, however y'all want to work out. No more than 2 of you could be in there talking, but however y'all want to work it out, you know, for you to be there, and then Gary, you and Vince, and you know, just contact and say we'd like to have some discussions and go through a checklist and the issues and just see where everything's at and what it takes and what the hurdles are and what we have to get defined. And like Catherine said, then we can have a more focused dive in terms of what's it going to take to put the numbers and make them work. So if that's okay, we'll just proceed in that direction.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Next one is Kathy Jennings here.
Yes.
You want to tell us what you've done?
It's not me. but
No.
It's rather accusatory.
Was that accusatory?
Yes.
Yeah, it felt a little bit. Anyway, I did make a list of things. I didn't want to just focus on one of the things we've been doing this year. So the first thing we did was we implemented a volunteer time off program with your help, the board's help. It allows employees to volunteer in the community for an approved event and receive hour-for-hour time off for volunteering up to 4 hours. We have so far only had 2 employees participate in that, but I'm sure that the agencies receiving their help really appreciated that. We also implemented time off for blood donation. We're getting ready to start talking about that after the first of the year and try to get more employees because from what we understand, there's a shortage of blood right now. We did have 2 employees participate from July until now in that program, and they've received some time off for that. Our employees also took up donations for the Quilters Guild stocking program this year. They took a lot of items to be placed in the stockings for participants of the Meals on Wheels program. So each participant will get a handmade stocking made by the Quilters Guild, and obviously FPB wasn't the only company participating in the donations, but we took a pretty good sized load over there to hand in to them. The employees also participated in the Salvation Army's Angel Tree program. This program internally was organized by the HR department. We had 25 children to purchase gifts for. A lot of those children on those things that they turn in on their forms, all they said that they wanted was an item of clothing or, you know, something like that. But our employees usually try to go above and beyond, and we had a lot of packages. You'll see in your weekly report the photos. We bought not only the items of clothing, but we tried to buy age-appropriate toys for them as well. So we hope they'll be happy receiving those gifts from us, and I'm super thankful that we do that every year. And finally, this brings me to the United Way campaign. We only had a week to get this United Way campaign underway. We started on December 5th and we ended it on December the 12th. But in that time, we were able to raise a total of $11,208 internally. And I want to remind you that, you know, some employees participate in the United Way, some employees participate in other programs, and they give money to different organizations aside from the United Way. So with a company this size, and of course I'm on the board of the United Way of Franklin County.
You're more than on the board, you're
well, yeah.
Your chair.
Yeah, only because you weren't there.
Oh,
yes. But anyway, but for us, I feel like, especially since last year, we raised $8,781.50. So we increased our donations this year. We've had a lot of retirees this year, and those people were some of our, you know, larger givers.
So I'm very pleased with the amount that we raised this year. I just want to say one thing. Our employees often see firsthand the needs in this community, and I know that for that reason, they're always willing to help when it comes to that. So thank you all so much, and I hope you all have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you for your team and what you all do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we don't have to take a formal action on this, but David Billings has good information.
About a month or so ago, I came in front of the board and said we were notified of about a $782,000 grant. We suggested that we use the reservoir as the recipient for the funds. So we made an application, and before the chairman tonight is to sign the conditional commitment letter from the KIA. So we're asking that Mr. Cubine sign that, and we'll forward it on. At some point in the future, there'll be an assistance agreement that will come back for formal approval by the board.
And this would add, this is not in our financials yet, right, David?
No, our recommendation would be to put this money towards the internal loan that electric's given to water.
Okay.
It would drop it from 15.5 down to 14.7 million as we sit today.
Right. So it's an informational item because we don't have to do it. I wanted to make sure everybody knew about it and was okay to proceed in this way.
Sign away, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if it's in order, I'd like to request permission to call closed session pursuant to KRS 61-810-1C to discuss pending or proposed litigation regarding PSC, contract matter and employment matter, and also KRS 61-810-1G to discuss specific proposal developably discussed would jeopardize the siting, retention, expansion, or upgrading of a business.
Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? We'll come back on in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, clear the room. Do we have a motion to come out of closed session? Do we have a second? We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning for Christmas?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you all. Bye.